Let's give them a hand. Okay, let's see here. Dan,
Yes.
would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Nice to see a nice group here. And we have some really great entertainment for you tonight, educational. We're going to have introduction to packet radio and Winlink global radio email. And we have 3 experts here that really know their stuff and are going to teach us a lot. So if the whole system goes down, we're not going to do that right yet. I'm just telling you what's on the agenda here, okay? If the whole internet and the cell phones go down, we've got this. You can send emails through it. You can send messages, reports, all kinds of stuff. So that's what's coming in about 10 to 15 minutes. Next, before I tell you what we just finished in the board meeting, are there any items that people would like to put forward to discuss? Anything on your mind that you'd like to get on our agenda? Okay, I'm going to ask that question every meeting. And if you like, you can let us know in advance and we'll put it on an agenda for the meeting, okay? Okay, so far I've heard nothing, so we'll move forward. The next thing that was on the agenda, we talked about, we had 4 committees for the planning of our annual plan. And I want to thank all of you that participated in that. That helped us really get going this year. What we're looking for now is on each of those committees, there was 4 or 5 participants. I would ask that one person from each committee step up to the plate and be that subcommittee chairman. And there's people that are taking activities on within the committee already, so it's not like you're doing a ton of stuff. It's just coordination kind of thing. And Mike, our vice chairman, will be the one that each of the 4 committees reports to, and he will bring it all together. And so we have the social activities team, which was Frank, RWQ, Mike, WYF, Becca, NBB, Tim, ONQ, and Art, BQX.
I got field days.
But Art's got field day, which is, take it from me, having done it twice, is a major, major workload. So I wouldn't expect him to be the team chairman of the social activities team. Are there any volunteers? I need one person just to be kind of the coordinator of the social activities team. Becca.
We have a winner.
Well, thank you. Art, you got that?
Yeah, Becca.
We really appreciate that, Becca. Thank you so much. Okay,
Tim was shaking and said, no.
I got a feeling the person sitting next to her will have a few things to do with this
Yes.
thing. Because she's going to be the committee chairman.
Yes.
Captive audience.
Okay,
Volunteers by association.
there you go.
Hey, if he's already married, he already knows
Yeah.
who runs the show anyway.
Now, the next committee was the Public Service Activities Committee, which was Bob, BXED, Fred, FRD. Is Fred here tonight or is he working tonight? Probably working.
I don't see him.
I don't see him. Jackie, who's on the CART team, right? She's very busy. Bob is very busy with OES, and he's going to be gone 4 months this year. Steve, who's volunteered to take on the Mayfair Parade, which we've been asked to participate in, and that's obviously Mayfair, so that's May 13th. They're going to have a parade, and we're going to need folks, and you'll contact Steve to volunteer for that. He'll probably put out a volunteer sheet. And basically, we'll all have our radios, we'll be on probably either a simplex or a repeater frequency, and we'll be informational and observational during the parade and help coordinate communications. We don't run it, we're not the police, but we do report activities as appropriate. So Steve will be our, raise your hand, Steve. He's volunteered to be the chairman. Okay, so we need an overall committee chairman, and it doesn't have to be somebody that was on that original committee. But it's a public service committee which deals with the simulated emergency test. Remember, we had that last October. The parade support, we have the Mayfair Parade, there's Bike Marathon comms, Cache Creek Ridge Ride, Davis Center Bike Ride, backup communications for hospitals and those kinds of things. So we're looking for a committee chairman for that public service committee. At this point, is there anybody in this room that would like to do that?
And your password, that's okay.
Okay, Mike, you'll work on that, okay?
I'll work on that.
Mike's the overall. The next one is the educational committee. We got Dave, WBY, Jim, HHO, Boots, GP, and Largent, QLG, for the educational committee, which, for educational activities, which includes Elmers and mentors, Zoom session topics, normal presentations at monthly meetings. Well, that's our chairman for presentations is Ed, KN6ESN, but he's away on a little vacation. He'll be back in the middle of next week, so he can't be here today. Yes?
What's the password they need?
It's Playside 20.
Nope.
Yep, I put it in, it's working for me.
Okay.
I put it in on two,
Yeah, but your,
Which network?
it's the Hughes Net,
no, there is no
2997.
HughesNet.
Yeah, there is.
No, there is not.
I got it, I'm on it.
Jason used it, he got on.
Jason got on it. It's right here, see?
I laughed because it was really slow though. Oh.
I'm on it right there.
You're
Well, it's
young and
HughesNet, not
patient,
HughesNet.
Well, she told me Hughes Net.
Oh,
HughesNet 2?
Net 2G, and it ends with 2997.
yeah.
Okay, and,
Hang on, let me see.
Playside 20.
Hug 2?
Hug 2 ends in 2997, and it's Playside 20.
Okay.
You aren't recording,
We'll try it.
are you?
No,
You just
that
gave
doesn't
out the
work.
whole-
Well, you know, we're
Well,
live.
if you're in this room, you're gonna use it, but it's not gonna work far away.
Nope, doesn't work.
Do the 5G.
Okay, so,
After secret squirrel signals.
educational activity for Elmer, Zoom sessions,
tried
normal
Hug 5.
presentations, that's Ed.
Nothing.
Didn't work there either.
And then, what's that?
Doesn't work.
What doesn't work?
None of us can get it to
Password.
work.
Well, how come it worked for me? Maybe it only takes so many people. Want me to
No.
sign off of it?
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me sign off.
No, it wouldn't say incorrect password, it would just give
Yeah.
a different error. Let me see the,
It says I'm connected.
yeah, okay, but what's the where's your password you used?
I told you what it was, Playside 20.
Any capitalization?
No caps,
All lowercase?
no spaces, all lowercase and the number 20. I've done it twice,
You got it? Just use my hotspot.
and Jason did it once.
That's the password right there.
I've got a hotspot if you guys wanted to try it.
Oh, there's a
You got
hotspot. if you need a
300 down
hotspot.
and 18 up.
Okay.
Okay. Educational activities. So then the last committee is a membership enhancements. And, membership committee basically to call, to get new folks, youth groups. Mike is taking on the youth groups. We had a wonderful event last week where Mike and I went to the Cub Scout Pack 8858 in Fairfield. And we gave a presentation on ham radio, Morse code, antennas, a little history of Samuel B. Morse and all that. And then we had them practice Morse code and a Morse code key, and they did on a code oscillator. Each one did sent the name There was the Weeblos, they had to send that, lions and tigers and all that stuff. And then we got on the air and we had our HTs, and Mike went on our frequency, W6VVR, and I went on K6SOL. And there were folks, Russ, and who else was on there?
No, I wasn't on there.
Eric was on there.
Eric,
I was on there.
you were on there, Mike, K6PRM
Chuck in
was on there.
Sacramento was on there.
KI6HK, yeah, HIK or whatever it was. So we had a bunch of us, and the kids got to talk. Every scout got to get on the air, say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and guys like, and everybody, the ham radio operators were nice enough to answer them, use their name, and talk just a little bit, and it was quite an experience. And we've got a lot of photographs coming, so it'll be in our newsletter eventually. Okay. So that's the kind of thing we're doing, and we're going to put a radio station in. We were talking about Will C. Wood, K6ERC. I have a radio station ready to install where if we have a place we know it will be used and supervised. And Eric, K6ERC, who's in our club, is the band director for the Vacaville.
For Wilsey Wood.
Well, Will C. Wood, but he
And he
also
does-
coordinates all the band activities for the
Yeah.
Vacaville School District, and he's an amateur extra class. And he said he would be the owner-operator and make sure it's, is secure. And so in this month sometime, we're planning to install the radio equipment that
I
we
didn't
got.
get that. Could you try again?
Speak more clearly.
I don't know how to stop that now. Anybody know how to stop that? There we go.
Close the top.
I went like that. And so that's from Bob Hewitt's estate. And I've been holding that to install it at a school as a first step. And then if we get the first one installed, then I know we're going to have an inventory list in the club for people that have surplus equipment. And I think we could put together a second station. The ultimate goal of all this is to teach the kids about everything we get from ham radio. Everything from the social skills of communication to electronics, to a little physics on radio propagation, and maybe competition. It doesn't have to be just football. I'd like to see, and I think we'd all like to see, the kids having DX competition, school to school, and things like that.
There's also one through the ARRL too,
There you go.
high school to high school.
Okay, good. Okay, I have more stuff, but I think that's enough for one meeting. I don't want to go into overload here. Does anybody else have anything, any questions or anything before we get to our presentation?
Field day.
Field day. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. We have 5 people that have reservations locked in that I know of, and I'd sure like to see a whole bunch more. So if you will, please make your reservations for field day and let us know which spots you got so we can chalk them off. And right now, spots number, and I got it right here because I just wrote it down a little bit earlier tonight. Spots number 66, 68, 72, 75, and 77 are taken up. And if anybody knows any more, which one?
70.
70? Okay, so that makes
One more.
73. That's great. So now we have 7, and I'd like to see Bob.
I got 80 something. I thought I sent you and Brian an email, but
That's okay. 80 something.
yeah, I got the.
That's okay. I'll just put 80 plus. So I know that one's taken. That makes 8, and if we could get 8 more, that would sure make a nice round out to have 16.
15 or 16 stations really makes it, it gets it well organized.
If someone's got an extra vehicle spot, I'd like to buy it off of them. I'll have 2, I need a third.
We'll get that arranged.
Okay.
And you're in spot
70.
70?
Somebody in the back there.
Yes.
81.
81? Okay, Chris, thank you. Yes, Becca? You're in 69?
Oh, this is great.
That's great.
What are we up to, 9 now or 10?
10. So if we can get 8 to 10 more, we'll be in
I'll have mine to you
heaven.
tomorrow. I'll have mine to you tomorrow.
You're gonna have yours in, Mike?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that'll put us up to 11. We'd like to get at least 4 or 5 more. We'd like everybody to do it. We got enough space. It's a big enough area where we can all go out there and have a great time.
I believe they opened it up to the public on April 1st for you to go out and look, but I went out and looked, parked, and I just walked. And there is plenty of wide open space, not trees. There's a few trees, but not in any way like in Sandy Park or Sandy Beach. This is wide open space, so putting antennas up should not be an issue.
You know what my rig looks like? Will there be room by my rig for his extra auto? Hey, you don't want to have to give me any money for it, it's fine.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see, I'll see how much.
We'll have to take a look,
I'll
but
get a hold of
we'll,
you. I haven't got mine yet, I'm gonna get it tomorrow.
but it should have enough.
If you don't have a vehicle spot, like if you're able to get a vehicle spot, you didn't pay for it up front, Judy, who works the kiosk at the front, you can pay for it that day of. You
Okay.
just gotta just tell her what spot number you're in, and then just say, I wanna pay for the extra vehicle, and then here you go.
Okay,
I got a motor home, so I know I'll have a spot next to me. I
yeah,
don't
mine's a
have trailer.
motorhome too, so.
So there's 2 spots, okay? If you have a trailer and a vehicle, then
That
that's
takes it all.
full. But if you have an RV like that, motorhome, then there's an extra spot that
Right.
is available. So you got 2 already.
Need any more, we'll
All right,
figure it
is
out.
there anything else, Art?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Anybody have any last
I do.
comments? Yes.
Anybody waiting for badges? That's here.
I don't gotta show you no stinking badges.
We're gonna go fishing.
All right.
Fisherman ladder line.
Has everybody picked up a copy of this? Does everybody have a copy of this? I had them out on the table there. Where do they go? They're on that table where that black bag is. Get a copy of the presentation so you can make notes, whatever.
Slide 1, please.
What happened?
You were playing. There you go. Okay, am I gonna signal you or?
Yeah, just signal me, that way it'll be easier.
All right.
I wanted some of his chicken, but he didn't offer me any. That was my lunch.
How you doing?
Yeah, good, you?
Okay,
Healing
folks, if you want to get a snack to get started, fine. Otherwise, we're going to start in like 2 minutes.
Hey, does the ERC ever get on the air?
PRC, I talked to him.
Yeah.
I need desperately to talk to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he's on the roster, and his phone number should be there, so just get on our club roster.
Okay.
You know how to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He also generally comes on the Cowtown Calling every Thursday morning. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to be right near this RF.
I'd like to, we're going to have the introduction to Packet Radio and Winlink Global Radio email by Fred, Bob, over here, and Frank. These 3 guys really know Winlink. So you're going to have folks that have used it over and over again and can give you all kinds of great information. When we're all ready, I encourage you to listen carefully and we'll get started.
Oh, thank you.
Are we ready? Let's go.
All right. Thanks, Don.
You're welcome.
How many of you have packet stations, or I want to know how many I'm preaching to the choir on? Okay. We got 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right, Don. Next slide, please. Okay. Essentially, packet is a method of transmitting and receiving digital data by radio, used by the amateur radio operators. And the data source is a computer. and a TNC, or a terminal node controller. And this thing converts the data from your computer, your digital data, to sounds, tones, which are transmitted by radio, typically using either UHF, VHF, or HF, depending upon how you set it up, frequencies. And the TNC at the receiving end translates the tones back to digital signals and displays it on the computer. So you can do it a number of ways. You can do it station to station. We were going to try here to do a, from here, since K6SOL is all the way down at the end of Sassoon City, we're going to use the digipeater on Mount Vaca to get over the hill if we can. Okay? From my house in Fairfield, I have no problem getting SOL, and it works fine. Okay? Okay. What this TNC does too is it monitors the frequency, and if the frequency is busy, it waits. So you can have multiple stations working on the same frequency, and they find a spot when it's empty, and then they transmit their signal. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
Is that what sometimes is on the repeater up here? It sounds like,
Yeah.
like static?
Yep. Well, actually, it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not zip, but it's it's tones, but it's very, very quickly. And that's the other nice thing about Packet is that it breaks it up into packets, small packets, and combines it with a checksum. And if the other end doesn't receive the message the way it's sent, the checksums don't correspond, and the receiving station asks for it to be repeated again. Okay?
Question.
Yes?
If you have a sound card in your radio, do you need a TNC?
Yes, they do recommend that you use a post or a separate sound card, only because it, if you don't have the proper grounding and so forth with the sound card, then you're going to get interference from the computer. So there are many different kinds of sound cards. Here's a signal link, and that works very well. I'm using a Contronics Cam XL, which is maybe here. This, by the way, is a unit that fits into a ammunition box, so I can carry it anywhere. And it works, has a little power supply. It has a UHF, VHF radio, and my TNC, which is a Contronics Cam XL. So all you need is an outside antenna and some power, and everything is on Anderson pole connectors. So if I want to put it on a battery, I just disconnect the power supply and plug in the battery. Okay, next one, please. Okay, here's a little bit better view of what we have here. We have a power supply. We have the VHF, UHF radio, and a Contronics TNC. And the only thing else we need is a PC, a computer. Okay, next one. All right, and I mentioned to you that you can do this on HF as well. And there are several programs available which we'll cover a little later. But here is the computer, HF radio, antenna tuner, power supply he has off to the side. And it uses, he's using VARA here, which is a HF program. But NDARP works, RDROP works with a signal link. And it's a lot cheaper than having to buy a Pactor antenna tuner or TNC, I mean, because those are very expensive. Okay, next slide, please. So, I mentioned there are different modes that you can do in Packet. One is station to station, and that's available on the Winlink program too. And that is essentially line of sight, okay? If the station's too far away, you can go through a digipeater. And there, I'll have a list on those on one of the final slides. You can go through a digipeater to a RMS, which is a remote, what's the term?
Relay station?
Relay station, yeah, essentially, no, what it does is it takes the signal you have, receives it, and puts it into the internet.
Oh,
RMS. Yeah,
RMS, yeah.
RMS, yeah, right,
Remote message service.
okay? So, so this digirepeater acts much like a normal repeater in that you send a signal and it sends it on. And usually it amplifies it because it's on top of a hill or someplace where that it can send the message on to a RMS station. And then there are a number of programs, special programs that are available, including Winlink Express Outpost. And airmail is much like Winlink. It's used by sailors on sailboats to get their email, that kind of thing. And it mimics the internet, such as Yahoo Mail or Yahoo or Gmail. Okay, next slide, please. So, Winlink Express is a window-based program, so if you have an Apple or something like that, your SOL, it includes the ability to attach pictures and files. And this is really great in emergencies, because if you were like working at a Red Cross shelter and you have to send a list of who's there, it could take forever to do it by voice. But you can make it in a file and send it, and it goes very, very quickly. Within 10 seconds, it ships this whole thing over to whoever you address it to. It also has positioning, reporting, weather, information bulletins, and has a lot of forms. And I think Frank's going to cover that a little bit on the forms. Okay. It's a ham system, so only hams can use it. Good reason to get your license. And it's built and administered by hams, and they keep updating it. Every time I think I open the network, I get an update. Yeah?
Is it all hams, or you have to be a certain license?
No, all hams. Yeah. Yeah. Technician,
VHF.
technician and above. So, yeah.
Your only limitation is your frequencies you can use based on your license, so you can use these systems on the frequencies you're authorized to use.
Yeah, UHF, VHF, no problem, but HF, you have to be careful on. Was there a question back there? What?
You need to be at least a general for HF, and all the HF stations are within the general band.
Okay.
Actually, there are situations where people use a digipeater, go in on VHF, and have it sent long distances via HF. They go into an HF
Through a
digipeater.
relay.
That's, as a relay point, and you can do that.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that one. I haven't done it that way.
I don't think there's any around here.
Okay. All right. So it's a ham system. You can use it. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay. There are different modes that you can use. The telnet mode is using it as a computer for internet. And we have a program here that I will send shortly to show you, or Frank will show you, to come back to his website, and he'll get it on his telephone. Okay, then the packet Winlink uses UHF or VHF packet radio, and what that does, this is where it really comes in handy when you're in an emergency, because it's the first 10 miles or so of communications that is usually out. Either the power is out, the internet is out, or something. This machine will send it out of the area to a spot that does have internet, does have power, and then you can connect to the internet there. Okay? And it does that through this CMS system, which is connected to the internet. It's a receiving station that is connected to the internet. PACTOR 1 through 4 is an HF program. It's not used that much because there are other cheaper ways of doing that now. That one requires a very expensive TNC in order to make it work.
What are the cheaper ways?
Cheaper ways? Signal Link. What is it?
There's a, I've got it.
Oh, you got it, okay. Yeah, anyway, there are a number of cheaper ways of doing it. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a little box you can buy from Masters Communications for Vera. You can buy it assembled, you can buy it as a kit, under $100 assembled. Works great on, I use this for VHF.
These used to be about $100, but now they're closer to 150, I think.
Yeah.
But you can get them at flea markets or sales, that kind of thing. But this has a board inside which you have to configure to your transmitter.
It's an external, it's an external sound card.
Yeah.
So that will work on VHF and HF.
Correct.
And any radio.
Yeah.
Primarily use it for HF mode.
Yeah, and any radio, you can use your handheld if you want and connect it to a TNC, and you got yourself a portable system.
What'd you have?
Not recommended.
I'm not letting you get away.
So yeah, this is a KPC3 Plus. This is like the newest model of, Frank's got a probably KPC3, maybe, you've got a CAM. It's all made by the same company, Cantronics. This is a USB version, so it plugs right into your computer. $200 on HRO, maybe $220 now, it might have gone up a little bit. This is kind of the packet standard, has been for years. I've got a thing called a TNCX, which is, it's like a dumb, all it does is just packet. This does mailboxes, digipeats. So for $200 you get fancy, for $100 you get a KISS mode, it's keep it simple. It just transmits packets. I think they don't make this brand anymore, but Coastal Chipworks got retired. MFJ makes a version of this, it's like $179 now, so prices have
So
gone
what
up.
does the other thing transmit in addition to packets?
This actually is like the old standard for packet, traditional packet. Has a mailbox, a bulletin board. You could actually get on a command line. You could send a message. It would sit in this mailbox. You could retrieve it from the mailbox, and that's old school packet.
That's like a mini server.
It's like a.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
BBS, yeah, it's like a bulletin board, yeah. But this is what packet, ran on for years.
Do you buy everything?
I buy everything, yeah. I thought $100, that's pretty good. $200.
Yeah.
See, I bought a cheap
Yeah.
HF radio. That's where I save my money.
See, when you're retired, you just buy stuff.
Stuff, yeah.
You didn't mention how many years you've been accumulating stuff.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's about 5 years.
Okay, and this Winlink also works on some special stuff like Rhodian GO, which is a satellite phone system. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we mentioned, it's not spelled right, RDOF 1 and 2, which is digital open protocol, and it works well, HF with your signal link. VARA, which is a sound card modem radio interface, and the VARA FM for VHF and UHF. And Don, was it you that said that Solano County is implementing the packet Winlink?
I'd probably put that in.
Okay. All right. At the EOCs and the packet Winlink at some of the local cities, EOCs. So it's being used quite extensively for emergency communications when the systems are down and they need some digital radio communications. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Finally, this is what an RMS station looks like, and that, if you remember, is where we send a signal to an RMS station. It is received by the antenna, it goes to the transceiver, and is then converted at the TNC to digital signal, goes to a computer, and back out on the internet to its destination. Okay?
All right, next line. Next slide. So here's K6SOL. So Solano County Office of Emergency Services, the the Auxiliary Communication Service, that's my group. Don, Frank, Russ, who else is in here that's in it? But we're kind of the hands. This is our radio room. This is what K6SOL looks like. We got all kinds of stuff in there. But here's the computer. This is the gateway. So Winlink is a system, right? It's got servers on the cloud, and the trick is you have to use you can use different modes to get your message into the server. So this system we've got is a packet gateway. And so it's running a program called RMS Packet. And when you transmit into this gateway, you're coming through this good old Motorola Radius. It's a ancient public safety radio, bulletproof, runs forever. It goes through this KPC3, goes into that computer. That's where it gets connected to the internet. We've got a cable going to the Comcast box, and that makes that loop. That's a simple packet gateway. That's how you get out of Winlink Express, which is the software. So Winlink Express is just kind of like a client. It's like Outlook, just a mail client program. But it's different in that it allows you to pick all those different modes that Fred went through. And so for most of the time we use packet. That's our gateway. Now this computer, now you see I have don't turn off, don't change the channel. The only time the gateway goes down is when somebody screws up my computer or turns off my radio, or one time the power supply's on the floor, the janitor kicked the power supply off. And so then usually I'll get an email. But it's funny, last week Comcast went down, so the gateway went down. And I think Frank noticed that he was trying to send a message and he's like, hey, I can't get through. So things happen, but ideally your gateways are up 24 hours a day. Go ahead, next slide. Questions? I'll go back a slide. So that's our kind of the gateway side of things. When you talk about having a Winlink station, so this is a all-in-one computer. We've got a KPC3 hidden in the back, connected to the other Motorola radio. We've got a Pactor modem here, which is hooked up to these Kenwoods that we have sitting on the desk. So we actually have an HF and packet sending station. So it's not a gateway, but we can send messages either using Pactor, which is a proprietary mode, and those are $2,000 a piece. So mostly agencies have Pactor modems.
Question. If you use AT&T as your internet source, when the power goes down, will your internet go down? Because AT&T has backup batteries on all their phone lines.
So that's a great question. So when your internet goes down, then the gateway's down.
No, but Comcast doesn't have batteries on their backups. I know that.
You mean in the modem?
Yeah, no, in the line.
In their network.
Oh, in their network.
Yeah.
Only the commercial stuff does. We use commercial with a port, and it doesn't go down.
6 or 7 years ago, there was no standard for internet towers. And so if they went down, the system went down. But now everybody screamed because of the fires. And I believe they passed some legislation now that you have to have backup power on your internet towers.
So, but that is exactly the point of having, Winlink as a system, as a backup for when things locally go down. So say we're in the EOC, and this is our concept of how we're operating. Say Rio Vista lost internet. We have a packet station. Say Rio Vista lost internet. We have a packet station in the Rio Vista EOC. So they could always get into the county EOC with messages and then we're on backup power. We can always get out to the state, right? So, we want to talk to the state of California or to the other emergency centers. We can do that through HF. If everything was down, we could reach out to Utah, connect into the internet. The guys in the state office in Sacramento, they would get on their HF radio. They would reach out to someplace. Everybody would kind of connect through the internet, but it would be outside of the disaster area. That's the whole concept. And like I say, Winlink Express is just the kind of the program that allows you to do that. Everything is backdoor. All the commands, all the, you don't have to sit there like an old school packet and type in C, MTV, NOD, and then all the different commands. Yeah, it's all backdoor. You just say, connect to this certain. Frank's going to demonstrate some of that. Go ahead with the next slide. So the CMS stations, Fred talked a little bit about it, but it's basically the server that you're shooting for that the Winlink system maintains. They used to have 5 redundant, you'll see on the next slide. Go ahead and put the next slide up. They used to have all these redundant servers all across the world, basically. Now it's all in the Amazon cloud. So really all you're trying to do is get from your station to a RMS, like our little packet gateway, or somebody might have an HF gateway. You're just trying to get you're just trying to get an access point into the Winlink system. Once you're in, then your message goes through the Amazon cloud and it's part of the internet. And so you can send a message to anybody with an email address. You can send anybody who's a registered Winlink user just their call sign. So like if you wanted to send me a message on Winlink, it's just KM6BXN. But you can also send it to, a regular email address. Go ahead with the next.
If they send it to your call sign,
You have to be in the Winlink system. So to get a Winlink account, you have to register. So you have to prove that you're an amateur, send them your license. It's basically free, but you can register your software for like $25 because they do spend a lot of time building the software. So you have to have a Winlink account. Now, if you don't, I could always send it to you if you have like an ARRL email. You could always send it to that. But to send it between call signs, like peer-to-peer,
yeah,
you would actually have to have,
you have to be in there.
you'd have to be in their system. You'd have to have an account. And that is the other point for an emergency. You can always get into a gateway and get an email out, but a lot of traffic on a big time emergency goes what's called peer-to-peer. So that is from one Winlink user to another Winlink user just directly. And you can do that on VHF, you can do it on HF. A lot of the traffic that came out of Puerto Rico during the big Hurricane Maria went peer-to-peer to the mainland. So that's a very critical mode for bigger disasters, is if there's a lot of information that's got to come. And then the person that receives it then can forward it on through the internet. But again, it's getting out of some place where there is no internet to a place where they can get into the internet. That's the whole trick. So this is some of the local stuff. K6SOL is ours in Fairfield. And a lot of this is we're operating on the backbone of legacy packet. So years ago, a lot of the emergency groups were running packet as a backup system. Now all those packet, all that equipment still can be used for Winlink. And we switched over to Winlink probably 2016, 2017. The whole state of California's made a big push to get all the emergency operations centers into Winlink. So K6SOL, that's us. KG6SJT-10, that's Greg. He lives in Davis. Greg he basically builds almost all the forms in Winlink. Guy's great. He was an emergency coordinator for the ARRL in the Sacramento Valley. Really nice guy. But he just has a gateway in his house, right? No big deal. K9ORN, I left that in there. I think that's in Wisconsin, so that must have slipped in from Fred. That must have been from Ural. I don't know where that came from. Either that or I had a typo. AI6EE, I think, is over in Nevada. KF6DQU is Grass Valley. So the whole point is, you can Google around and find packet stations. If you just Google packet Northern California, stuff will pop up. You'll see different clubs that have packet stations.
Yeah, it's also on the Winlink.
Right, and on Winlink, you'll actually it'll pop up a list of gateways, which is really good to see. You can see based on distance and bearing. The trick is, it's really hard to find digipeters because there's no central source to get a list of digipeters, and digipeters let you extend your range. So we have a digipeter on Mount Baca. It's just a simplex repeater, basically. And so if you can hit that digipeter, MTV NOD, it'll get into our station in Fairfield. So we have like the Tevis Cup, which the horse rides in the Sierras. If they're up on a ridge, they'll shoot across the valley and they'll hit our digipeter and they'll get into our station, and that's how they'll transfer the messages about the horses, when they're coming in and checking it and that kind of stuff. K-Bear is on Mount Berryessa. It's operated by the Berryessa Amateur Radio Club, BARK, B-A-R-K. It's on 145050. That's a huge northern valley. There's all kinds of packet stuff on that frequency. So a lot of legacy. There's guys that sit there and they see how many digipeters they can connect to. That's their entertainment. Sarah is the Stanislaus Amateur Radio Club. They have a digipeter on Mount Oso. So I can hit that from my house in South Vacaville, which that gets me all into these stations down here in Merced. So from Vacaville, I can bounce off of here and then get into these guys and get into their gateway. So again, it's just testing out the idea that if we go down here, it's unlikely Merced's going to lose internet. So there's a way for me to get out, even on packet. And then K-band on Banner Ridge is a really good one, and that gets you into the Grass Valley DQU. So this, you'll see it on your handout, but this guy just made this map, trying to highlight as many of the digipeters as he could. So you just kind of have to Google around and try to find that kind of stuff.
Can you find this stuff in the repeater book? Does it list it?
No, there's
It used to.
well, digipeters aren't usually listed in the repeater book.
No.
But there's a Northern California Packet Association, NCPA. So some of that stuff gets listed there. Some of why certain stations like 144910 is an emergency packet frequency. 147 or 145.730, the one we operate on, is supposed to be an emergency packet station. The 145050 was supposed to just be regular packet. So the way I practice, I fire up my home station and just kind of pick different gateways to get through, just to make sure everything's working and to see how many digipeters I can hit. Frank's part of the radio team that goes in every Wednesday at OES, and so they always fire up our station and they'll check in with the California State OES. And so they'll use HF, they'll use VHF, they'll get on the federal frequencies, which you have to have a federal license. And so we'll use those different modes to get into the system. So Frank, I think you're up. That should be the last slide.
Okay, really good. Can we keep that slide up real quick?
Which one?
This last one here. First of all, Boots W6GP, and I live in Rio Vista. And I make extensive use of K6SOL-5. It's called Mount Vaca. Actually, these are aliases. These are aliases. So when we were talking earlier about packet radio, you're basically connecting one alias to another alias. and that you set up your radio to the frequency you want to operate on. And if you're, just a quick mention on digipeaters, you make use of digipeaters to access a further distant station on the same frequency. So if I'm using Mount Vaca or MTV node on 730, that's because I'm connecting to this gateway, on the same frequency.
So it's all simplex, basically?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely all simplex, yeah, very much so. So I just wanted to bring out, these are alias names, and we're going to be using these alias names when we're making use of the RMS Express and actually initiating and transferring a message. So we're good there. So what I'd like to do is connect this cable here to my PC. Looks like it's nice and long.
What do you want, the HD?
Yeah.
HDMI?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then keep the questions coming.
Edges.
Problem being so ignorant is I don't know what questions to ask.
One question can lead to another.
If after this is over, if anyone would like to have a workshop where you actually get hands-on, we can arrange that. So you can actually do it yourself, okay? We can arrange that.
Okay, so what I've been tasked to do here is basically share with you users basically how to use the Winlink software running on your PC that's maintaining an email client environment and also connecting to a gateway that's going to take your message and distribute it to wherever the destination is. Winlink basically represents two modules. This module here, and can everybody see that?
No.
No?
Can you go like that, make it bigger on your screen?
No, it's a PC screen.
Yeah, I could change the size. I could probably play with the resolution. I could
Feel
probably,
free to get up closer here if you want to see it better.
that's not a bad idea.
I'm scared.
Ain't scared.
Hold me, Brian.
Which one?
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Oh, man, that's going out on air. Oh, man.
You realize you're on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Hold on. Well, he edits.
Getting any better?
Yeah, a little better.
Oh, there you go.
There we go, yeah, okay.
Frank, you got good eyes.
Now you can't find your
I
application.
think you got some icons there.
Frank is a wonderful resource for network stuff with your computers, just so you know.
I think you missed one icon in the world, Frank.
Where? Yeah.
Well, this, you guys ever play with Log for OM? I just got turned on to that, and that just came up on me. Okay. I'm not really accessing the internet here, and I don't really need to access the internet. Although if you were connected to the internet and you brought up this this email client, and by the way, this particular module, I said there was two modules. This particular module is nothing more than an email client, implying that it receives messages, sends messages, and stores messages. Here is a number of folders. Here's a number of folders that show outbox, sent messages, saved messages, and of course the inbox. This particular portable station belongs to the Trilogy Radio Club, and so this is K6TRL is the call sign for this Winlink. Although right here on the far left, you could have multiple call signs set up in the single Winlink client here. And this is, I have my call sign up there along with K6TRL. So everybody today knows email, knows how to send and receive emails, maintaining your email structure kind of thing. So I won't talk too much about the concept here. Here's your inbox, read messages. Here's your outbox. I'll share that with you. Sent messages. So these very typical email. So getting into the beginning of the guts here, like any email program, there's all kinds of ways to manipulate your client, including font size, and setting up groups, and setting up additional folders, and even set color themes. But the big one up here is how you would actually configure the Winlink client for you. And also, by the way, so I'm going to select here Winlink Express Setup. And this is how you would actually register with Winlink with your call sign. You would do that right here. You don't send email like we used to. We used to do email, but now you do it right in the program itself. And in this particular case, you put your call sign in, you put a password in, and your contact information, and you update it, and hopefully you're on the internet, and it gets sent up and basically gets registered with winlink.org, and that's the main that's the internet Winlink servers, winlink.org kind of thing. Okay, so Bob mentioned that you can spend $20-25 and register it, although you don't need to register it. It will run just as well without registration. So you don't really need to pay for it. You don't need to pay for the client or the services with this client. And I don't think there's anything else here. Can everybody? No, it's still difficult to read, isn't it? Any questions related to registration?
So where does it say register on there? It just says request password. Where does it actually say that you're registering?
It doesn't.
I guess it doesn't. I guess it doesn't.
Once you're in.
Yeah.
And the password you put in is something you set up initially? Because it
Yes.
says
Yep.
request password.
Yep.
Right.
And
Yep.
they sent me a password, and that's what I installed when I did it. I never was able to, at least
Maybe-
I didn't think I could set my own password.
Yeah.
How long ago?
Maybe you
The
had.
initial, I think
Oh,
the
I don't know,
initial screen.
several years ago.
Yeah. They, as I said, they update the software almost every time
Okay.
I log on.
So you enter all this stuff, and you click update, and it sends it all in, and you get registered.
You get registered. Yep.
It might take a day or two.
Okay.
Say again, Fred.
It might take a day or two to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to validate.
Oh,
the
yeah,
call sign.
yeah, there's all kinds of validation going on. Matter of fact, back in the day,
That's
you
where I
needed
send
proof.
my license, yeah.
Yeah, you needed proof. I don't think you need proof anymore.
I don't.
Um,
And just, I'll throw in, we do have a club account, W6VDR, that I've got the password to.
What's that?
We do have a club, we have a W6 VVR Winlink account,
We do?
and that's what we use for field. Bob Hewitt set it up, I inherited it from him.
Oh,
That's what we use for field day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we get extra points for using that in field day?
We get 100 points, that's the most you can get. 10 points per message, 100 points max.
Ooh, well, we gotta do that this field day.
We
We
do
did
it-
it last
we've-
field
We've
day.
done it
Count on
we've
it.
done it every field day.
Are you gonna be at this field day?
Yes.
Good, okay. Notice also it says my grid square. Does everybody know what a grid square is? Is there anybody that doesn't?
Some location.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna pass on this. So that's basically setting up the user for the Winlink client, and nothing more. We haven't interfaced to the radio here yet. This is just registering the Winlink email client with the Winlink organization. Okay, it might be a good idea to, to initiate a message, to create a message, there's a message pull down, and the top of the pull down is a new message, and you basically open up a new message here, and this is a typical email, two copy subject. You can apply attachments, as Fred mentioned, and the body of the message is down here.
And you can send it to multiple sources on the same message.
Yep.
Just like regular email.
Right.
So could you put in somebody's call sign like for peer-to-peer and CC somebody else's internet address?
No, not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Peer-to-peer is just between two stations.
Okay.
Yeah, but can't you put in a call sign on 2 and then use the CC of an email address?
Right.
Yes.
But not in the peer-to-peer mode.
Oh.
So if it's
Not
a,
going anywhere.
So peer-to-peer is private.
Okay. So where does it say peer-to-peer mode?
We're not in peer-to-peer, I
we're
didn't
doing
mention
a We're
peer-to-peer.
doing a Winlink message.
Yeah, peer-to-peer is another way to connect your client to a remote destination. And in this particular case, peer-to-peer is not going to a gateway, it's going to basically another Winlink client. So it's client to client, peer-to-peer.
Does the recipient get notified somehow that he got a mail, or do they just have to open it and look?
You have to log in and look.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Unless it's an email, and then it goes to your email address,
yeah.
and then whatever you have for notification of email.
Right.
Okay.
Fred did mention that you can, or Bob mentioned that you could send to both Winlink recipients, which just requires your call sign, and I just typed in my call sign there. You can't send email to yourself, so I'm sending email to W6GP from K6TRL, basically. And I'll just, can't really see that well. Okay, so I did message. Okay, here's where you actually change it from a standard Winlink message to a peer-to-peer. Okay, but I don't think it's useful to talk about peer-to-peer now. It's a little more complex, and there's all kinds of timing involved because you have to be on the other end to connect to a peer-to-peer user. And he has to set himself up as a recipient for your call. And again, you're doing it over RF. So you guys have to be on the same frequency, and you just have to coordinate. You just have to coordinate the transfers like that. Okay. Also part of messaging, besides just filling in the body of a message, you can also send forms. And real quick, I'll select a template, and like Bob said, every Wednesday We work with the state and exchange messages from all of the counties to indicate our presence. But at the same time, as Bob always likes to think about it, is just general good practice to make use of your Winlink system, your radio, make sure everything's working at a regular basis. So when you have that emergency, and you have a good feel for that things could work out for you. Okay, so under general forms, so I mentioned that because under general forms, there's a Winlink check-in. There's a Winlink check-in form. And it's going to bring up my web browser. And so let's say it's an exercise. Let's say this is just for general information. That's because I'm using, this error came up because I'm not on the internet, but I won't be connecting to the internet. The Winlink client is using the browser to fill out this form, and then it's going to collect the data and turn it into an attachment and never actually make contact with the internet. And so I'm going to be doing packet. And by the way, there was also mention that you can use this Winlink client in various modes on various bands, including a telnet connection to the internet. So you don't even need radio to make use of Winlink, this Winlink client. You can actually generate a Winlink message and send it via telnet. Telnet's an old internet application that provides peer-to-peer, and file transfer capabilities. So I'm going to select packet here, and I think I was sending it to W6GP.
But you already put that in the to
I
message.
did. No, you're right about that.
So you have to duplicate it here?
No, no, actually not. Actually not. And you know that because you're doing the same kind of stuff I'm doing
I'm
regularly.
just trying to make it clear for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'll give you that. So, yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm filling out a form, and this form's going to get transferred into the body of the message as an attachment, and the header is going to pick up some of this information here. And I don't even think I'm going to go much further, except that here's the call sign that's initiating the request. Here's the station contact and the station call sign. So you can use your call sign at another station's call sign. And again, when you're checking in, thinking of an emergency, checking in also allows you to provide your location, which also includes latitude, longitude, and a grid square. And this is Rio Vista or the Trilogy Community's coordinates. And then just further down, you can actually include with the check-in a lengthy message or any kind of message that may be expected as a from the Winlink recipient. And also Wednesdays, if you guys get involved with Winlink and you want to make use of Winlink, there's several organizations that actually support regular exercises with Winlink. So the four of us, we share a presence, an activity at the sheriff's office, in Bob's office, and once a month, because of the four of us. But most of us, I'm thinking, also send exercise or create check-in messages that we run from home if it's not your assigned week. Again, just to exercise your equipment and to keep the process fresh in your mind. Okay, so I think I'm going to close this.
So that, to actually execute that form, though, you would submit the form,
Yeah, yep,
and then it would convert everything in the form into a text file and stuff it into that message so it'll all show up
right, as an attachment.
as a, yeah.
As an attachment, and also fill out the header of the message.
And then when somebody receives that message, it's triggered to actually open your data in the form in a web browser, so that what Greg did when he built this is he's cut down on the amount of data that actually gets transmitted. So there's no graphics, there's no colors, it's all just text in a XML file, probably something like that. And then it just gets put back in a browser, because you gotta realize the transfer, the data transfer speeds, you know, go back to the old phone modems, think, you know, you got mail, Yahoo. You're old enough to remember that, you know. So 1200 baud on the
Yep.
packet is the standard.
Yep,
300,
1200
the
baud.
symbol rate limit on HF is like 300, so.
And that's 1200 baud with seconds between packets. So, you know, the end result is,
You're not attaching like 1 megabyte files at all.
No.
This is like a 25K message will take a minute or something, it's crazy.
right.
Bob, would these folks be, could we invite them when we do a Wednesday check-in at the sheriff's office to come and sit with us and see this kind of thing happen? Is that something we
I'd
can
rather
do?
set up a separate workshop.
Separate workshop?
Yeah.
Okay. We could certainly do it on field day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Come
definitely.
to field day.
Oh, we'll be doing it on
You'll see this in
field day.
operation this summer.
Come sit in my air-conditioned truck.
Go ahead, yes.
I just have a question. So, from my understanding, it looks like you are any Winlink user, say like there's a countywide, something happened countywide, right, and we're out of power and everything. You're able to send out a bulletin for updates. Are there call signs or email addresses that you would contact for access to bulletins? So say you want to know what's going on, say you're disconnected and you want to know what's going on, is there something that you can contact and get information?
Well,
relayed
it's an
back to you?
email system. It's an email system, not a bulletin board system,
There you go. That's
like
what
the
I'm-
old days. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, if there's distribution of messages, it'll be done from K6SOL, right from the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Yep.
We would normally be sending messages for the Emergency Operations Center, usually to like a higher level EOC, or out to like a local EOC, Rio Vista, Fairfield, Benicia, something like that. We're kind of in that middle role between the higher ups and the local.
And when you use this, get used to using it, you'll be able to, when you open your session, you're able to select what station you want to go through. Like, and it actually tells you the bearing. I don't know if you could
Yeah.
show that here.
Yeah, I'll get
It
into
shows the
that.
bearing and the distance. And you select the one that's optimum for your station to communicate with. And when you look at this, sometimes you'll actually see on those stations, when you select it, it says Starlink. They're connected through the internet, through the satellite sometimes. It's very interesting what you see when you do it. And you do it all HF, you don't have to be on the internet, and it does it for you.
Yep, so I'll get to that. So I don't want to spend too much more time because it is a basic email system. And, you know, here's where you manipulate your attachments. Here's where there's a spell checker. And here's where you save a draft. Say you want to take a break and come back to it. And then here's a draft, here's your drafts folder. So it is very typical. So when you, so after creating an email, so I'm going to, right now, post it to the outbox. So that's what I'm doing here in the upper left, post to outbox. So my message now is in the outbox of this email client, ready to be sent. And again, this is a little archaic in that to move messages from folder to folder, you actually define the destination of your folder to this move to box, or you can delete it, or you can delete a message here. Okay, again, it's a typical email, and if you didn't quite understand that, you understand it in a second.
Frank, the one thing that's a little different than modern email clients, your message doesn't actually send until you do what Frank's gonna do in his next step, which is connect to the internet, right? It's like, you know, if you're on your phone, you type a message and you hit send, it goes. And if somebody sends you a message, it pops right in, it's called push notification. This client is like an older style where you actually have to connect your client to the server, and then you'll receive any messages that are sent to you, and then you'll send any messages in your outbox. So it's a little,
It's definitely, you got mail.
it's an older, yeah.
But there's a real purpose to that.
Well, yeah.
This holding area is holding the message because now we're going to be setting up the radio, setting up how you're going to actually disseminate that message to the gateway. So we're going to be doing that. So right here, there's a pull down here where you can actually open up a particular session. This opening up a session is opening up a radio session. So if I do a pull down, you'll get a sense of the different protocols that can be used to transfer that message. So it's your responsibility to understand the protocol, what protocol you're using, what band and frequency is required, and I'll show you more about that because there is a helpful database that helps you in that area. But so the first entry is Telnet Winlink. So if I was on the internet, I could send that message that's in the outbox via Telnet Winlink. And so just because it's kind of it's an interesting interesting in that. Well, let me have it come up.
You gotta open it.
Here's a
You
good
gotta
one, I
open
never
this.
hear the word telnet again.
I don't think you opened the session.
Yeah, didn't I?
No, I think you just picked the mode in
Okay.
the session.
Okay, so I selected Telnet Winlink, and that's just going to open up the session dialog box right here. And I'm not going to do anything more than just show that to you. In that if I hit the start button, then it's going to go out to the internet and transfer your message to the RMS or CMS database, which is the cloud now. It used to be servers, now it's the cloud. Okay, that was
Message command.
yeah. Okay, so I won't spend any more time on Telnet. Telnet's Telnet. So I'm going to close that and bring down the other options for other sessions. So the next session is Packet Winlink, and that's what this seminar is all about. Was Packet Radio. And I think everyone has a good sense of what packet radio is all about, and we're going to be using that. And then there was also mention of PackTor. That was that $2,000 modem. This puppy right here. And then RDOP is an HF protocol. VAR HF and VAR FM. That's another protocol, relatively new, in that in that it takes advantage of some of the new technologies in quadrature phase transmissions.
Which one of those can go RF?
They're all radio based.
HF?
You said HF.
I said RF radio.
Oh, did you say
frequency As
RF?
opposed to internet. I want to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, I would say, to answer that real quick, all of them except the top one. That top selection is the Telnet Winlink, otherwise everything else is HF. And,
RF, radio based.
yeah. And here's where the peer-to-peer is, peer-to-peer selection. And that's a whole setup again. It requires a lot of coordination end-to-end. And so at this point, I'm going to select Packet Winlink. And this is where you actually begin to set up this second module. Don't forget, there's two separate modules. You set up the second module to be compatible with your radio. So it knows how to talk to your radio. You have to deal with a COM port for PTT. And didn't I hit open session again?
Hit 'em.
Okay, so here we go. So, all right, you can't see it that well, but on the top again, besides the first entry is exit, the second entry is settings. And in settings, you basically define the TNC type, the vendor. The first one is vendor, and the second one is a model of the vendor. Your serial port. And if you don't know what the serial port is, you just bring up your device manager on your PC and try to isolate what that COM port may be, especially if you have multiple COM ports. You might have to pull out a cable to see what COM port disappears, so you know what COM port you may be operating.
Trying until one works.
Right, and of course baud rate is also important. Otherwise, everything else is standard. There's 1200 baud and 9600 baud, and there are 9600 baud links. I did a lot of 9600 baud on the East Coast, and it's not as fast as it sounds, just because it's RF, but typically you might see 30-40% of 9600 baud, and there's still a lot of space between packets. So it's definitely faster than 1200 baud. But okay, so that's pretty much it in interfacing the second module with the radio. Is you want to know that COM port and the serial baud rate. And I suspect possibly this year we might even be able to connect this module over TCP. Most applications now are using TCP ports as opposed to COM ports. So, but you have that to look forward to. Okay, so there's nothing for me to do here. I'm using a Cantronics KPC3. Bob showed you the 3+, and I'm on COM port 10. I had to just change that COM port to 10. I was on 8, but I'm using several USB
Ports,
no, not ports, but
Interface?
devices.
USB, something that breaks USB ports into lots of ports.
Oh,
A hub, thank you, USB hub, yeah.
USB hub.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Realize there's two main modules, and this is the module that actually connects to the hardware. And we talked a little bit about the hardware in that, the radio obviously is connected to an antenna, We're on VHF here. And we're on the simplex digital frequency that K6SOL is on. The digipeater is K6SOL-5, and the actual gateway is -10. So that'll get defined, but I'll show you that. So I'm going to say cancel here. I'm not sure if that canceled. Anybody have any questions while I'm,
You're gonna transmit now?
close. Okay, again, here,
So you don't use a frequency
so
via?
here's the client, so I'm gonna minimize that, get that out of the way, and continue talking about the second module. And I mentioned the settings was under settings. You can, on the fly, you can switch from peer-to-peer. You can, right, in this particular position, you can switch from peer-to-peer to standard Winlink gateway operations. Although it's actually defined in the message. So if you're going to switch, you better have peer-to-peer messages to be sent, otherwise you're wasting your time. Okay. So further down here, this is your connection type. And I've selected digipeater, but you can go direct. You don't need to go digipeater if you have a strong shot with the gateway itself. But I'm selecting digipeater, and here's the destination. The first field is -10, which is the destination, and the second field is the alias. I could have said, no, I couldn't have. It requires an alias. I'm pretty sure it requires an alias.
Requires the elements, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. As opposed to -5?
Yeah, because that's set up, that's defined in the
Yeah,
KBC.
that makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it makes more sense if you actually saw a packet showing the destination and the source and the path of digipeters to the destination.
How many digipeters can you use?
I don't think there's any limit.
Yeah, well,
That, you know,
you can write
there's a
script,
practical
yeah,
limit.
yeah.
You know, you can go coast to coast.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You have to write a script to do that.
Okay.
I got a question.
Sure.
So if are you targeting a digipeater specifically? Or is
Yes,
it-
I am.
Okay,
Yeah, this is digipeater on Mount Vaca,
Okay.
supported by K6SOL and the county.
so like APRS, if you're using too much power and you hit too many digipeters, you can actually, what do they call it, truncate, or your packet could be lost, right? Because you hit too many digipeters, and too many digipeters are trying to send your routing message. Is that an issue that would happen with Winlink, or is that minimized because you're targeting one digipeter?
Yeah, you're targeting. You're targeting there. Yeah. APRS has a different mechanism that would prevent further digipeating with APRS because it has a path and a mode also.
We can discuss that in a separate session if you want to talk APRS, we can deal with that. But it's good that you brought it up. It's good that you brought it up.
Okay, so I basically, by the way, Fred just asked how many digipeters can you go through, and you know, it's more of a practical limit than anything. But on this client, it appears that you can only use 2 digipeters. because there's only two digipeters, there's only two blocks. The first one being empty vaca, and the second one being empty. So,
But you can actually write a script,
oh, okay.
which I've never done, but I know it can be done,
Sure,
where you can connect more than two.
sure, sure.
And so if you were sitting in Sacramento and you needed to talk to a gateway in Reading, I know there's groups on the valley side that will hit multiple digipeters to do that.
Right, right.
But
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit start, and let me real quick bring up the client. I actually have a real mouse in my case, but just. Okay, this is the email again. I'm sending from K6TRL to W6GP, and I also included, just for demonstration, my main email, fboots@msn.com, which pretty much enforces what Fred said earlier, in that you can send Winlink messages to call signs, where Winlink takes the call sign and knows what to do with it, and it'll also route anything that's an at something other than winlink.org would go to the internet and get distributed. So basically, I have two destinations there, and I just wanted to bring that up. And so I'm gonna hit start. And I turned the volume up so you can actually listen to the connection being made. And also, I'm going to show that I'm going to switch the client from K6TRL to W6GP and pick up the message I just sent by making a second call. Here we go. So it's initializing.
Oh, I feel like I'm back in the 70s.
Yeah, really.
Is that what my old back?
Except in the 70s, you weren't doing it via radio frequency.
Oh, you're
were doing it
right.
via
You're
internet.
right.
This is a
Still
whole
sounds the same.
higher level.
well, it's the same
Yeah.
concept. If you
Yeah.
remember, you
Yeah.
just stick your phone in the little suction
Yeah.
things. It's all audio, it's audio traffic.
And there we are,
That's what it sounds like on our 2-meter repeater every once in a while.
Yep, right.
No, it didn't send the message.
Oh, it didn't?
0 cent.
0 sent, 0 received.
Okay.
Technically good. Maybe because your message was open.
That may be.
Should have been in the outbox.
Close.
Well, it was in the outbox.
Yeah, but it was open, is what he's saying.
No, it's gone now. We'll change your call sign and see
No,
if
it's still in the
still
outbox,
there.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's all right.
Close,
But if
yeah.
you,
Close your message. I
Go
think
ahead.
your message was open.
I think it's still open. Because there's nothing,
Yeah.
I'm selecting outbox, but I'm not seeing it in the outbox.
Right.
It's just easy. I'm getting right on.
then double click on it.
Yeah, double click on the outbox and you'll see it. I think.
Nope.
Are you double clicking
Go
it?
down to your taskbar. and look.
Yeah, yeah. There it is.
Now you get-
Oh,
since
probably
you-
because you're in
since
the
you-
edit mode.
No, when you opened it, you get a post-it to your house. Yeah, you get a post-it.
Oh, that's right, that's right. When you bring it up, it actually goes into an edit mode.
Right.
Now
Yeah,
you can just recycle.
good
your
point, yeah.
traffic section.
I've seen that before.
Now you can start it and do it.
Yeah.
I can.
So there's one more step, and then if you were working with an email, you have to post it and then open the session.
Yes. Yes. So I'm basically going to start again. If everybody can see that, I don't have the eyesight to.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, there we go. So the antenna's over there by the window. I couldn't connect from here.
is this on Cement Hill or Mount Backen?
Not that
I'm back in.
Yeah.
So it's in the county vault. And it's just two AC 2800s and a Digipede and a KPC.
See, it says K6SOL, this
There
is
it goes. It's on
K6TRL.
green line. You got it.
There it's setting, you see that green bar, it's setting.
And all the message said is test, and this is how I'm mistaken.
Sent one message.
There we go.
You hear that?
And disconnected.
Okay, so I can, well, I'll just close that just for general practice.
You can use four.
Bring up the client again. And redefine the call sign, W6GP. And then I'm going to go back into Packet Winlink, open the session. And notice my inbox only has one message here. So when I finish here, I should pick up that second message. So notice the link between the second module and the radio, nothing's changed. So I just restarted the session.
So you do transmit one session and receive another session?
Transmit and receive is done during the session.
It's just the two different
Sending and
call
receiving.
signs.
You see down there, it says K6SOL-10DE, this is W6GP. It was the other way around when they sent it before.
Yeah,
He actually switched,
Oh, I see, yeah.
he
Okay.
switched call signs, that's the.
Oh, I missed that, okay. Okay, this is another feature.
Let's see it in the inbox first, let's everybody see it in the inbox.
Well,
Hang on.
actually, I haven't received it yet,
Okay.
because there's an option in settings where show me the messages that I have available to receive. If I'm on a slow link, I don't want to receive 10 messages. I want to only receive the one that's familiar to me, or maybe not receive anything. So I can come down here and say deselect all. And then select a single message.
Well, you have
So-
6 seconds, you better.
So I'm going to select this, and then download check messages. And I didn't make it. I didn't make it. We're going to have to initiate that again.
It's receiving.
It's receiving it.
Yep, it is.
There it goes.
yeah,
So
maybe
we
they
learned-
went the other direction.
That static we're hearing in the background,
Yeah.
that's actually K6OL transmitting back up to Mount
Right.
Backen. I think we're hearing
Right.
that breakover.
And notice the
Right.
green bar is going the other direction, it's going from right to left, where when it was sending, it was going left to right, wasn't it?
Yep.
It's receiving, it
Very
goes from
true.
right to left.
Yep.
It's in
Yep.
Arabic.
So the other thing to remember is this is amateur radio, it's all public. The winlink.org has a message traffic monitor, and every message you send is posted to the internet. And so, as the system operator for K6SOL, I'm supposed to log on, check to see what kind of traffic goes through our gateway to make sure nobody's like selling things or transmitting, nasty stuff. But it,
Trying to make sure no one's trying to save anyone 15% on their car insurance.
that's right, yeah, real Geico commercials, yeah.
Okay, what about your extended car warranty?
Yeah.
Frank?
They have what they call a whitelist, and you can actually open up addresses from the internet that you want to receive. Otherwise, everything looks like spam and it won't go through your system.
Hey, Frank? It says receive 2 messages, I thought you only selected one pending messages.
Brian called it, I timed out, and so it downloaded both messages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so it said messages sent 0, messages received 2, and it disconnected. So this second module now is complete. It's done its job, so I'm going to terminate it. here are the two messages that came in. And here's that test message from K6TRL. Now's the time. And it's as easy as that. And it really is nothing more than a fancy Winlink, fancy email system. Or maybe even archaic.
It's not
Email
a
system.
fancy email
Fancy
system.
archaic.
It's an archaic email system.
With a fancy radio module.
It's just a great interface to get email over your radio without having to know a lot of
Yeah.
commands.
What's up?
You got a question?
Just have a scenario, say we're traveling cross country,
Sure,
get a flat tire,
sure.
and we don't have internet. So
Perfect.
in this case, we knew what the digipeater was, but in a case where we are in an area where we don't know what the digipeters are, how would we find that?
Okay, that's worth sharing. That's worth sharing. Let me share that. But let me go back into open session. Let me pick out an HF. I'm going to do Vera HF. That's our go-to protocol.
I'm a pessimist, I'm always thinking worst case.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a perfect scenario too, by the way.
I'll tell you, while he's doing that, years ago, I took US 50 across,
The loneliest highway in the world.
across Nevada,
Uh-huh.
and I was running APRS on my Kenwood radio. You know, one channel was APRS, and I was just floored. I was getting packets, and it was telling me 400 miles that way, you know, 200 miles south or 600 miles west of me. So even out in the middle of nowhere, there was stuff on the APRS frequency. And you can always use that for messaging.
Yep.
Very short messages.
That is, yep, very true, very true. So I went back into the
Winlink on that?
No.
I went
No,
back
but
into
you
the
can send-
into the second module.
You can attach
Um,
messages to
Again, I don't use this, I don't use this account, or I don't use this particular client, so it's not set up for HF, and so it had some issues on what radio I was using. But what I wanted to bring to your attention was channel selection. When I select channel selection,
Gives you a whole list.
that's interesting. Standby, I'm always on the internet, so it seems to be updating the table, but this is a table of all of the gateways that are available countrywide, actually. That's, no, probably over, more than country, but let's say countrywide, where the first column is the call sign, the second column is the frequency, the third column or the fourth column are grid squares, but the more interesting ones is distance and bearing, depending upon if you have a Yagi or if you're distance sensitive, and we're all, any band you select, you're distance sensitive. So
That's in miles?
Kilometers.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's a setting. I typically do miles, by the way, so again, this is a club software. So, I could select, let's say I want to do something on 80 meters. If you're in a car, you probably want to look at 20 meters. So if I select this column, it'll order it, and I'll go down to 20 meters. Okay, let's say we picked out something at 40 meters, but I'm gonna, at 20 meters, but I'm gonna select something at 40 meters. And here's a KB2 PCN-5, and it has a reliability estimate of 67% out of 100. So
Distance though.
the distance is 1419. 1419, but this is, I'm not on the internet, so the table never got updated. That's HF, yeah, yep, yep. But the point I was making, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, and by the way, you can update this table over the air also. I just
Takes a long time to do it.
It takes a long time to do it, yep.
So if But if you go for channel selection on packet, it will give you the stations that are closest to the grid square that you put in your setup screen. So if you set your computer up at home, drive across and land up in Ohio,
Change the grid square.
you need to change the grid square to match your location, and then it will pop up
Yep,
stations within that area.
good point.
It won't give you digipeters, but it'll give you stations within
Right.
that location.
Right.
Yep.
That's a
Yep,
list
yep.
that you pre-loaded in there.
Yeah, yep.
Right.
Yep, and so, so if I was to select this, it would actually give you the center frequency that you want to set that you'll be operating on, the center frequency of the bandwidth of the Winlink packet, and the dial frequency of your radio, 70660 at this on 40 meters. And it also gives you a bearing. If you had a Yagi, you can actually point to it. So
So
that,
everything in Winlink VHF is upper sideband.
so that was a great question. I'm glad you asked that. I forgot to mention that.
So we gotta lengthen our hamsticks before we go cross-country.
Yep, yep, definitely. It's the only way to go. Yeah. So, I don't have too much more to say, except I'd love to answer some questions. And Bob and Fred are here also. You wanna-
I have just one comment, and that was on the main screen, the one behind this. There's, on the bottom left, there's an area for contacts. So if you normally make a lot of contacts with a station, you can just use that. You see where it says contact on the lower left?
You can load that up.
Oh,
You can
here.
Yeah, you can load that up with,
Oh, yeah.
you frequently used stations, and
Yep.
if you're gonna send them a message, you just have to click on the name and it automatically fills in the station in the form.
Yeah, when I first got into Winlink, you realize pretty quick, it's not just casual email, right?
Yeah.
But if everything were to go, for personal use, not MCOM like we do with the county, but even just personal use, if you were home, something happened, internet goes down, you could easily, either through HF or get out to a family member with a quick email saying, hey, we're okay. They can reply back to that account. It's a really good way to let folks know what your situation is, without having to put a lot of text, right? Because the first thing that goes down is the cells are jammed up, the internet will go down. And like Frank showed you, it's really easy to hammer out a text message saying, hey, we're fine, don't worry.
Are there any additional questions? Go ahead, Becca.
So you can email back from just like a regular email?
Right.
Yep.
So once somebody,
So-
oh,
Well, I sent an email. I sent an email from one account to another account, and then I became the other account and received that message.
Woke you right up, huh,
Like
Art?
if you're sending an email
Woke you right
saying that you're okay, the other person doesn't have to have radio stuff.
so they can reply back to you.
Yeah, you received them. I'd like to say thank you to Fred, Bob, and Frank for putting this incredibly detailed, fully operational presentation together. And I'd like to thank Jason for putting this on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for doing that, Jason. Really appreciate it.
I didn't know I was on camera.
Yeah.
I would have combed my
Becca,
hair.
thanks again for the food and so on. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I've got one quick
Okay,
question.
we'll see you next week, and we'll see you on the net.
Do it automatically.